Hello everybody and welcome to Patreon build number 2. Let's see what's changed. Okay, so I'm going to start with the obvious visual stuff first. The login screen still doesn't keep your details, unfortunately. We're still working on that. So you're going to have to type it in every single time. But don't worry, it's coming. Alright, there's your menu, pretty much like before. Nothing here has really changed. Okay, so the two scenes we've got here now. This is the mod scene where you put your own stuff in, your own content, and the tug scene is now the same scenery, just with the tug. Reason is the tug's a lot more complicated. It's not a mod. It's actually like a scene of its own. So we've had to separate it, but soon we'll be able to make a mod out of it, and it'll be able to go into any scene. But the azimuth system is a little bit complicated at the moment, so we've not been able to get that to work with the template. But yeah, we are working on it. Right, so there's the fishing boat. We've got a new UI on top there, new drop-down bars, new tabs. There's the new old boat. Right, so everything here is still the same. There's nothing new here. Except for maybe a few new items over here. Everything still does the same as before, it just looks a little different. Okay, so let's go through each of these quickly in a little bit of detail. So, okay, so your waves still go as they were before, not a huge scale difference. You've got two types of waves. You've got this sort of very short chop, very confused, still directional but very short. And then you've got these massive rollers that, yeah, these can be currently scaled to the size of buildings, to the point where they'll start cutting into the sea below, because there's not that much depth around this island. Right, but that's a bit extreme. Refraction is just being able to see underneath the water. You set that by how clean the water is, or how clear the water is over here. Same as before. On or off over there. Normal map. Let's just switch the other ones off so you can see it. This is what controls the little waves you see on top. This will be linked to the wind. No, it won't. This is not linked to the wind. So yeah, that, as you can see, it just sets the amount that's applied. Next is a value that doesn't work without this normal map scale, so at least give it a bit of scale. You can drop this one, just see it in action. Well, maybe not completely. You can see that, so that's almost like your second read, or probably third read at this point. And if you scale that up, let's set the strength. Let's get this overall. And if you scale it, let's drop the wind speed. You can see the effect. So if you're doing some shots further away like this, you probably don't want to have it, like this. Looks a little bit repetitive. So you can adjust this depending on where your camera is. Over here now it's going to look a bit blurry. There's no definition. So over here would be okay. Of course with this would look a bit better. Okay, then brightness is still the same as before. Specular adds another layer, which I don't really like, but for some of you that just a little bit more flexibility to set the ocean just the way you like it. I've never found it just ever looks good, so I'm not quite sure. But I'll leave it to you guys. I don't want to take it out. You might find a night setting or some kind of a setting where this thing shines. Smoothness as well. It seems to be either on or off. There's no in between. Either reflections get culled or not, and nothing else happens. I'm sure there's a bit of a frame gain though. Let's have a look. Not really. Alright, next, foam scale. Well, there's no foam yet, so let's start the engine by pressing I. And full throttle, either with the keyboard or the mouse. The prop starts spinning up. Off we go. Okay, now that we've got a bit of foam going, we can see what the scale's going to do. It's pretty self-explanatory. You can go pretty large depending on what sort of style you want. If you've got a really large ship, I suppose you could, for a smaller boat you want to have a different scale. In reality it's not going to work like this, but you want to adjust it to make it look good. Feathers, the amount applied. So that's now snowy, and this is as least as it can go. Chop is the amount that it will spawn, or the angle that it will spawn. So increase that angle, well, decrease it and you'll see it'll stop spawning. Well, this angle still exceeds the amount, but you'll see on the water, for instance, it's not spawning anywhere else. So if we increase that to maximum, you'll start seeing it spawning on the threshold, which is extreme on full. And then wave speed increases the movement of the normals and the whole wave system, which I don't like to fiddle with it because it's on a nice setting and it's quite difficult to get back, but let's show you anyway. So there you can see the waves are going really quick now. Okay, so let's get that back to where it was. I think it was here somewhere. Okay, and then your color, same as before, no changes here. And then your wave types. Okay, next up, weather, no changes here. The only thing I can point out to you guys is the sun size to give you definition on your shadows yet again. And then the brightness, and then the light changes the warmth. So this would be really warm and that would be really cold. Okay, and then here's our new island. We've got a few danger markers. We've got an isolated marker over here. I think we've got one east and two north markers. The two north markers are down there. And then we've got our port and starboard channel markers. The bell is only on the isolated marker over there right now. You can hear it clanging away. We had them on all, but it sounded like a bit of a mess. So. But physically they're there. They've just been disabled, roped up. Right, let's head down to the pier we've got down there. Okay, so changes for the last 2 weeks. We've fixed the. We've given we had a couple of reports of guys not being able to switch their lights on with the keypad because their keyboards don't have keypads. So we've given you a second set where you can use 1, 2, 3, 4 on the normal keyboard side, on the left side. Another change, the next change was the foam around the island. So you'll see foam spawning around the island here. Or we'll get a better high res one just now when we get close to it. And what's next? We've got a couple of new tools in the template, including a surface clipper. So if you've got an open hull ship and you want to clip out the water, we can now do that. And we'll have all the we'll have the it's a bit difficult because you've got to tag it, because there's not a plane there right now that you can just move, but we'll explain all of that in the Discord, in the changelog, and it's also the changelog's also on the Patreon, so you can see all of that there. Let's get this wave speed down a bit. And I want to show off a little feature over here that I'm absolutely loving right now. If I pass the jetty or the pier, you'll see the wave interacting with the bouncing off the pier. My bow wave or wake's gonna bounce off the pier and then back again, as it should. Let's try not to crash into it. See it bouncing off over here. And if you'll be able to see it, foam scale's a bit off at the moment. There you can see the wave going back again. Let's go from this side and see it over there. There you can see it moving out. Okay, so our scene's got a lighthouse. There's a couple of things you can do over here. I'll show you the lighthouse at night quickly. I'm bouncing around between stuff, but we'll get to everything in a sec. There's the night scene. Boat's lights are all on. The markers are all as they should be. So you guys can have fun and explore the island. There's a lot to see on there. We've done a bit of optimizing, as we always do. We get to a point where you have to optimize, even though you don't want to optimize at this stage, but we have to optimize. When the frames drop to tens in the teens, then you know you're forced to optimize. So you can't be lazy all the time and just keep adding content and say no, we'll optimize later. No, you'll optimize now. So we've done a bit of optimizing. The scene's running at around 40 frames for my 1080, which is not by any means a monster of a PC. It's quite a medium sort of old gaming PC. And we've tested on a laptops, you know, a decent sort of laptop gets around 30 frames. But not a office laptop, that's for sure. Right, what's next? We've added twin rudders and twin props to the template, and we've optimized our steering system because it was a bit of a mess before. You would have experienced a sort of a spongy sort of rudder that wouldn't return back to center very well, and yeah, we've gotten that to a point where it's acceptable. And it's easy to adjust now, so the amount of spring back you want to have after you release your rudder, or the amount of delay it takes, is easy to adjust in the template. So if you want to make a jet ski with rapid response, it's easy to do. Right, next up we have a third person back in the build, like we did in the very first free alpha. Except he can, well, he could get off before, but we've added 2 spawn points in the template so that you can decide where your man's going to spawn out when you press currently Q and E. Let's see if it's in the shortcuts. No, so Q and E will spawn your man or your sailor. Let's run aground quickly and do that. Well, maybe not aground. Just run up to this beach over here. Okay, so currently the boat doesn't drift. I've got my drag set a little bit high, so she's not drifting very well. If I cut the motor, it's almost like it stopped dead. So there you go, motor's off, and we press E for starboard side, and hello, wet boot guy. Let's go for a little walk around. left shift to run. Well, currently he's just speed slide walking, like he's on roller skates. So we've added all the grass and trees and bush and shrubs and whatnot. And a couple of details here and there. There's a cottage back here, a warehouse. Sort of the idea was a refueling station or a stopover to refuel and rewater. Well, there's not much else going on in the island. But yeah, there's a little path. You can go back to the lighthouse, go have a gander up there. And then to get back on the boat, you just press the same button that you press to get off. Next up, we have supported resolutions, but that I'll put it in the log. What's next? Bunch of key conflicts. That's nothing serious. A bunch of colliders have been added for the person and the boat. So we've got. Let's go check it out. Actually, let's get the tug in for this. So you shouldn't be pushing anything with a fishing boat. So let's go back to the menu and load the tug so you guys can have a look at the tug. Obviously, this scene's, you're probably not going to find a world-class pusher tug or harbour tug in a tropical island, unless there's an extreme case for it being there, but it's definitely not going to be its home port. Okay, so F7 hides the UI, the beautifully crafted UI that we're never going to change. No, as soon as it becomes a priority or a hell of an eyesore, it's gone. But right now we're getting the base game, the core game sorted before we work on fluff. Right, let's go push the jetty and see if we can move it. Which, let's hope it doesn't, it shouldn't. So you've got the same functionality as you have before with this tug. You can still press Z and go for a walk around. You can't control the tug obviously while you're walking around here. But yeah, so how this works is there's a separate mesh collider that you have to draw that dictates to the character where he can and can't walk. So you can't just take the entire mesh and set it as a collider. You have to have a new mesh, because otherwise your frames will drop dismally. So you'll see he can walk through some stuff and other stuff doesn't cause him to collide. So the big stuff will, and the smaller things I've just ignored, like the bollards. And then we've got a first person view, which is also using the same collider box, except you're the captain, but you can't see him. And also no controls. And then Z again, and we're back in the boat. So we've got the orbit cam still. We've got this new FPV cam, which is also in the template, so you can add your FPV cams. Did I switch both my engines on? I don't think so. Okay, now they're both going. There we go. Got a bit of speed. Here's a follow cam. And back to our orbit cam. Sure, the Harbour Master's gonna love me going 11 knots in the channel. So this is a very early on. We can add content like crazy. We just don't want to go crazy just yet and see how it works for people if the performance is a bit of a problem. It's pretty detailed as it is with the trees and rocks and whatnot. Let's see if we can get this tug to turn. There we go. Whoa. And that's going to lead to a crash. Let's abandon. I guess this is not going to plan. Or let's not. Let's see where this goes. See if I can shove off over here. No, she's not having it. As you would expect, I think my prop has probably got jammed underneath there somewhere. Oh yes. So there's no colliders on the props right now. The collider's only on the hull. That's why that one's sunk. And she's not having any of this. She's run aground hard. So yeah, let's have a look at the night scene again on the tug. Her shortcuts are a little different for the lights. There they are, they're GH. Spotlights still work, but they don't shine very far right now. You can see that, you know, at this point it should have been shining in the bush by now. And so yeah, we're still going to be playing around, but we haven't touched this tug since alpha. What's the other buttons? Right, deck lights and nav lights. All the nav lights grouped in one. Obviously, when you bring your boat in, you're going to be able to group which lights you want to have where, for what. We've just chucked them all in one right now. Well, let's go for a walk. Yeah, we've also added some sounds in the template, so you can now add your own engine sounds and your own horn, which I haven't tried yet. Let's see if this boat's got a horn. Oh no, she hasn't, because H is your horn button and it's lights right now. So on the fishing boat, there's a horn sound. Right, and that's pretty much the changes for this build. We're gonna plan out the changes for the next build, and we're gonna I'm not sure if we should vote or see how people feel about what we should prioritize, because there's a lot that needs to be done and everybody's got different priorities as to what they want to see early on. So we're gonna, after this release, we're gonna put out some feelers to see what you guys would like to see next, and then focus on them. Alright, and have fun. Let's see some boats.